Yeah, good morning everyone. So last session we discussed about templates. How do we use contracts? So in TypeScript, go. Right. So we have TypeScript object-oriented programming. In this, we discussed about the first thing we learned is about contracts. So what are contracts? Interfaces. So we discussed about interface. We learned about rules. We discussed about objective. Am I right? We discussed about goal, and we have optional rules. We have read-only rules. How to define read-only rules, right? So when you design a contract, so contract contains rules. So rules can be optional. Optional rules are defined with null reference character. Read-only rules are defined by using read-only. We learned about extending contracts. Extending contracts is nothing but inheritance. How we can inherit and how we can extend. Generally, actually contract supports all types of inheritance. That means it supports single inheritance, it supports multi-level inheritance, and another one multiple. Multiple is also supported. So single inheritance means one contract is extended by another. Multi-level means the extended contract is again extended. An extended contract is again extended. That is multi-level. You see here, so version 2 is extending version 1. That is single. If we have another interface, this is HDFC version 3. This extends HDFC version 2. And it is having some agree. So agree is string type. In that case, what happens is, one second, right. Yep, let's continue. Yep. So now here an extended contract is this. It is again extended. This is called multi-level. This is multi-level. An extended contract can again extend. So I will give this logic also there. So this is multi-level. Multi-level is this. So we have a contract extended by another contract. Now another important is we have multiple also. We have multiple. Multiple means, suppose we have the contracts here. Suppose version 1 and version 2 and version 3. Suppose these are not extending each other. Okay. All three are independent. All three are independent, individually configured. Now what we are doing, so here we are creating an interface. Interface is bank app. This interface extends. This extends HDFC version 1, HDFC version 2, HDFC version 3. It includes all the three. That means it is implementing all the three versions. And once it is implementing all the three versions, it can adopt all the three features. So what we have to do here is we can just use some bank name. This bank name is what type? String. And we can create an object. So this is bank object. It is of what type? It is of bank app. That means it should have all the features. That means whatever you defined here, it should mention all of them. So that means it should contain all the options. All these need to be defined. That means we have personal banking. It is a string. And we have NRI banking. That is also a string. We have loans. That is also a string. So we have like agree. That is also a string. And I hope one more is there. Bank name, right? And we need bank name. That is also string. We can put some values there. But this is multiple inheritance. That means a interface can extend multiple interfaces. What is advantage of this? We don't want any relation between all versions, but we want to use all versions. In that case, we can use multiple. This is an example for multiple. Okay. These are very basic things. I hope you already know these in our general OOP concepts also. So single, multi-level and multiple, how to handle them, right? Next, this is how we can configure contracts interface. One more important, you should know that interface contains, so that means interface contains rules for methods. It contains rules for methods also. Till now you have seen rules for property. You can have rules for methods. Generally, a contract contains rules for properties and rules for methods. As of now, you have seen only properties. That means personal banking, NRI banking, loans, agree, bank name. These are all just properties. But we can have rules for methods. For example, see, I am creating an interface called product contract. Product contract contains name, which is string type, price, which is number type, and quantity, that is also number type. Total is a function that should return quantity into price. Then how do we write rules for function? Rules for methods. Method means it defines some actions. What action to perform. And total is a method. Then you have to put in a parenthesis. It is a function. And generally in TypeScript, the rule for function should tell what it returns. If it returns number, its data type must be number. Its data type must be number. That means this is not a property. This is a function. That function returns number. Remember, when you define rules, method defines a functionality. Method defines a functionality. And a rule for method must contain only declaration of method. It must contain only declaration of method. it should contain only declaration of method. Declaration of method means actually we have, I will tell you here one simple thing. So here you can observe, see actually, suppose we are writing a function, some print, this is the function, and here we have some functionality. I hope you learnt in JavaScript that this is called as declaration. This is called declaration. And this part, print, and if it have any parameters, this is called, we call signature. And what functionality it have, this is called definition. So in a contract, when you are defining rules for methods, it can have only declaration. Understood? Only declaration. It cannot have definition. Declaration contains signature. That means it cannot have definition. That means here you cannot write it is a method like this. It can contain only declaration. Similarly, we have another method, print. But print is an optional method. If you want to make it optional, then question mark, parenthesis. And if it doesn't return any value, it will do only some functionality, then you have to mark it as void. That means if a method is not returning any value, it is just doing specific functionality, then it should be marked as void. We have to define as void. So when you are defining methods, so usually it should contain only declaration, and the method must define return type or void. It must define the return type or void. That means syntactically we write like this in an interface. So we have print or say some total. Total is what type? Number type. Suppose we are defining print. This is what type? Void. That's how we need to define the rules for method. And very important, how to implement. That means methods are implemented by using function. So we have to implement like this. What is it? Total. Total is a function. You have to write like this. And what functionality it should do. And as per the definition, it is a function which should return. It should return only what it should return? Number. That means you have to design in such a way that it can return only number. If it is void type, then how do we design? We say print, and print is what? Function, and what functionality it should do. We have to tell the functionality. That is how we write. So above, this is the way of defining rules, and this is the way of implementing those rules. So when you have to define rules for any function, you have to write in this way. That means you have to define function name and its return type. So implementation should be in this way. And one more important, as I already told you, so you can define optional. You can define optional methods. That is same. Optional methods, how to define? We have print. It is optional. It is of what type? Void. That's how we can configure. Suppose if it is total and it is optional and it is what type? Number. That's how we can configure optional, right? Already yesterday we discussed how to define optional. So this is optional. So let's go and see now how to implement. So LET product is what type? product contract. Then equal to object. According to it, it should have a name, some name. And again, it should have price and some price. So some price, okay. And it should have quantity, some quantity. It should have total. Total is a function. This function have to return quantity into price. You know, the members, you know, the numbers in object are accessed by using this keyword, right? We have to use this dot quantity into this dot price. It should return number. If it is not returning number, then it is error. It says that it is void, not assignable. Because we designed as number, it must return number. After that, we are defining print. Print is a function, and this have to print all details. Console.log, some name is equal to this dot name, and price is equal to this dot price, and total is equal to quantity. Everything you can print. I am just printing only these details. Total is a function we are printing. How to access this print? We have to just use product dot which method print. Print is the method that is going to access and display. Here it is showing error. So it is showing that it is a void, cannot invoke an object which is possibly undefined. That is not error actually. This is just telling that don't try your objects declarations directly, use some proper modules. Okay, that is okay. In the next level, we will see how to design the modules. As of now, this is not a problem. You can compile. Let's see how to do. So run this and see here. tsc index.ts. And here you can see node index.js. And it will execute and display. Even here it is not showing any error. That is just only warning to you to tell that don't invoke objects like this, use a proper method. Because we are using tsconfig now. The tsconfig will tell all the rules of TypeScript. But this is just enough to understand how do we define rules for methods. So a contract contains two things. This is one example. A contract contains two things. One is the rules for properties and the rules for methods. So I hope you are clear in all these things. Let me give you the summary. So we learned what is a contract, right? We learned how to define contract. That means it is nothing but interface. We discussed about interface, and very important, why we need contract. Understood? Why we need contract? What is the purpose of contract? Why we need interfaces, right? Another option, how to define optional rules. How to define optional rules, and how to define read-only rules. Another, how to define rules for properties and methods. How to define rules for properties and methods. Another point, how to extend contracts. These are all the basic things you learned in this part. So what is a contract? How to define contracts? What is interface? Why we need interfaces? And how to define rules in an interface? How to define rules for properties? How to define rules for methods? How to extend the rules? How to define read-only rules? All these things are important. This is one part in TypeScript contracts, right? In object-oriented programming, next very important concept, class in O. Now, What is a class in object-oriented programming? Generally, how you define class? Technically, class is a program template. Technically, class is a program template. Class is technically a program template. Program template, that is the good and professional definition. Generally, when you learn OOP concepts, you may learn like class is a blueprint. You may learn like class is a logical entity. Class is a model. Like these words we generally learn. Actually, class is technically it is a program template. What is meant by program template? Template means what? Template means it contains some sample design and functionality. That sample design and functionality you can implement in your project and you can customize according to your requirements. That means a template means it contains sample design and functionality. You can use that in your project and you can customize it according to your requirements. That is the meaning of a template. Template, for example, you see, suppose I am using MS Word. In MS Word, suppose I want to prepare a resume. If I want to prepare a resume, you can see there is a resume template. It says that we have some templates. When you select one template, according to the template, it will give you all the sample design here. Just what we have to do, we have to make some changes according to our requirement and we can use it. So you don't need to design everything by yourself. Already it is designed. It has some sample data and logic. You just customize according to your requirements. Technically, class is used for such purpose only. In computer programming, classes are used for designing templates so that you can implement and you can use from any location and you can customize according to your requirements. That means template provides sample data and logic, which you can customize and implement according to your requirements. Template provides some sample data and logic, which you can customize and implement according to your requirements. That is what actually template. But generally, while learning various programming languages, we learn that class is a logical entity, class is a blueprint, or class is a model, because actually, see, generally what happens is, in our real world projects, we usually have, in our real world project, we have some data. And actually, this data is designed according to business requirements. According to business requirements, they design the data. Means according to the client business requirements, we design the data. That means the data is designed according to the business requirements. We prepare this according to business requirement. Now what happens is, as a developer, you are writing some class, you are designing a class, means you are designing a template. You are creating a template, you are designing a template. This template is mapping to data requirements. That means this template, this class is designed to work with the data directly. If the class is designed to work with the data directly, then this class is called as model. Model. We call it as model. That means, remember, a model represents data. A model represents data. If you designed a class that is representing the data of your application, then that class is considered as a model. You have MVC framework now. Model, view, controller. Model is data and view is interface and controller is logic. Actually, you will learn, if you haven't learned, in your Spring MVC, ASP.NET, MVC.NET people, they will learn that. Technically, model means a template which is representing data. But many times in real-time projects, we don't prefer writing for data directly. We prefer for writing for business requirements. Because data is designed for business requirement. If data is designed for business requirement, you can also write for business. You can also write for business requirements. No need to write for data requirements directly. If you are writing for business requirements and not for data requirements, this mechanism is called as ORM. Have you heard about this? Object Relational Mapping. These days in computer programming technologies, we are using this ORM technique very regularly. Earlier, very less ORM concepts we use, but now it is mandatory. ORM means Object Relational Mapping. That means we write for business requirements, not for data. If you write for business requirements, it can work for data. Earlier, our developers have to write for data, but now they are writing for business. If you designed a template that is mapping to business requirements, then it is called entity. It is called entity. Entity means it is mapping to business requirements. Class is called as a logical entity. Why it is called as an entity? Entity means anything mapping to business requirements is called entity. Anything mapping to data requirements is called model. Whether it may be entity or model, so we can use these entities and models as blueprints. We can use entities and model as blueprint. Blueprint means, what is the point about blueprint? Blueprint is nothing but, for example, you want a wedding card to design. You went to a DTP center. In the DTP center, the DTP person who have to design wedding card, he will not design a new wedding card for you. He will open some blueprints and show you. He will say that choose any one of these, right? And you have to choose one. Now what he will do in that? He will put your data. That means you are designing not everything from scratch. Already there is a design, you are implementing it. So class is working as a blueprint in both occasions. As an entity, it is a blueprint. As a model, it is a blueprint. So if anybody asks, then what is exactly class? Exactly class is a template. Is it a entity every time? Is it a entity every time? No. It is called as entity only when it is mapping to business requirement. Is it a model every time? No. It is model. It is called as model when it is mapping to data requirements. So class is a model, or class is a blueprint, or class is a entity. All three definitions are correct, but not perfect. Then what is the perfect definition for class? So class is a template. So it is a template. It can work as an entity. It can work as a model, or it can work as a blueprint. That means what is entity and So class have the behavior, right? Class have the behavior of three things. It is the behavior of an entity, it is the behavior of a model, and it is the behavior of a blueprint. So better not to say class is blueprint. Better say class is a template. It is a template. What is blueprint? What is model? What is entity? It is not class, it's behavior. So class behavior is as entity, is as model, or is as blueprint. What is class? Its behavior, okay. What is it? It is a template. It is a template. That is the real point actually. So class is a program template. Now here very important is TypeScript classes are same as JavaScript class. In JavaScript also you have class concept. You learned about classes in JavaScript. Same TypeScript classes also, but some changes. So TypeScript class provides few new features. It is same like JavaScript class, but some new feature are there. What are those new features? See, the first important feature is, what are the new features? TypeScript class. So it comprises of static members. Here you can have static. I will show you that. We will see that. Another important, it comprises of access modifiers. It comprises of access modifiers, and access modifiers are not there in JavaScript. JavaScript don't have access modifiers. JavaScript don't have static members. So what is new in TypeScript class is static members and access modifiers. What a class contains in JavaScript or in TypeScript, class comprises of what it contains. Every class can contain only 4 members. One is, it contains only properties. It can contain only method. It can contain accessors, and it can contain constructor. Only these are available. Technically, a class can contain only 4 members. Only the properties, methods, accessors, and constructor. Only these can be defined directly in a class. Class can have only these. So in many interviews, what are property, method, accessor, I will tell you, we will discuss. In many interviews, they ask like, can we define a variable in class? Variable in class. That means, can we define a variable in class? The question is, can we define a variable in class? So the answer is no. You cannot. That means, for example, see, we are declaring a class, same like JavaScript class and class name. Class name is some product, and in this, I am declaring a variable x equal to 10. It's not allowed. Variables are not allowed in class. Variable can be declared outside class. You cannot declare a variable in class. It's not possible. Now the question asked is, why we cannot define variable in class? Why we cannot define variable in class? If we don't define variable in class, then where to store data? Because data is stored in variable. So in a class stores data in property. You don't need variables. Then the question here is why we cannot define variable in class. This I will tell you, right? So why we cannot define variable in class? Why we cannot define variable in class? Because variables are immutable. Variables are immutable. Class is what? Template. Template means it must allow to make changes according to requirement. And variables cannot change. Then how we can have them? Understood? If anybody asks why variable cannot be in a class, because class is a template. In a template, it can have only mutable members. And variable is not mutable. Variables are immutable. Immutable means their structure cannot change. Then how you cannot have them in class? Because variables are immutable and the class can have only mutable members. Understood? Variables are immutable. If variables are immutable, then you cannot have them in a class. Now the question is, where data is stored in class? The answer is in property. Data is stored in property. That means what we do, we define a class. So, and a class name. In that we have a property. And in the property, we will put some data, whatever data you want to store. So we cannot have variables. We store data in properties. Now, if anybody asked you a question, what is difference between variable and property? What do you say? What is difference between variable and property? So already we learned variable is immutable and property is mutable. Property is mutable. So data is stored in properties. You cannot have variables. So that is first point. Second point, another important is, can we define a function in class? Can we define a function in class? Answer, no. You cannot have a function also in class. Class can have only 4 members, as I told. Property, method, constructor, accessor. Only these. Suppose in a class, I am trying to write a function. So that means I am trying to write function. Some F1 is a function. It's not possible. You can see it says that unexpected token, you can have only a constructor or a method or an accessor or a property. Anything not allowed. And you know the meaning now. What is the function? That means question is why function is not allowed in class. You know the meaning. What is it? It is immutable. It is immutable. Then the question is how functionality is defined in class. If function is not allowed, how functionality is defined in class? If function is not allowed, how functionality is defined in a class? It is defined by using method. It is defined by using method. Then what is difference between, the question is same. What is difference between method and function? You know the meaning. So function is immutable and method is mutable. So that means we write class name, and here we have to define method. and what functionality it should do. Like this we define. So a class can contain only 4 members. What are those? Property, method, accessor and constructor. Only 4 members. We will detailedly discuss now what is property, method, accessor and constructor. Right? Here we need to understand one more point. As I told you, TypeScript class can have static members. So defined by using static keyword. We have to use static keyword. So TypeScript class can have static members defined by using static keyword. By using the static keyword, we can have static member. Now the question is, what is difference between static and non-static? The difference between static and non-static. See, let's see. What is difference between static and non-static? This is important. Generally, static and non-static, what is difference? Generally, when we ask this question to ordinary OOP learners, then they will give one answer. Static members are accessible by using class name. I haven't asked how they are accessible. I asked what is static. Understood? But 99% OOP learners will give an answer. Static is accessed by class name. How it is accessed, I don't care. I want the meaning of what is static, not how it is accessed. Don't tell me how it is accessed. I know how it is accessed. I'm asking what is it, not how static is accessed. But majority of you people have that answer only, na? You learned about static, non-static members in a class in general OOP. If anyone asks what is static, you will say static is accessed by class name. Right? Non-static is accessed by using an object. How they are accessed, I don't want. What is it? That means your answer is about how they are accessed. But the question is about what are they? Actually, you should know that the word static, non-static, these words are related to, these two words are related to memory. In computer programming, the terms static and non-static, these are related to memory. They are related to memory. Actually, you will have a static memory and you will have a non-static or dynamic memory. You will have a non-static or dynamic memory. Memory classified into two. We have static and non-static. Now, what is difference? I will tell you here. See, we have a static memory and we have non-static memory. What is difference is, for example, in this static memory, we have some s. Suppose we have some value s is equal to 0. And s is equal to s plus 1, 0 plus 1. Here in non-static, we have n is equal to 0. N is equal to n plus 1. Both are same. But see here, the key point is, so we have designed a class. We have designed a class. Some demo class. Okay. In this class, we have these two members. That means the class is having two members. One is S. Another one, S is static. So we have this static. And another one we have N. N is non-static. Now generally what happens is, this memory is allocated this memory is allocated for the class. Class is allocated with memory. Static members are stored in static memory. Non-static members are stored in non-static memory. Now what happened is, we created an object here. See, we created object 1. We created object 1 for this class. Okay. When we created an object for this class, this object have to use these two members. Am I right? It have to use these two members. So what it will do? This will use s equal to 0 plus 1. That means it is equal to 1. What object 1 have done? It have modified the s value to 1. After modifying, it finished using it. Once it finished using it, it will remain in the memory as 1. That means this memory continues. This memory continues. Now it will go to n. What happens here? N is equal to 0 plus 1. That means n also how much? 1. So what object 1 have done? It made n as what? 1. Now object 1 finished using memory. When it is finished using memory, the non-static memory will reset again. The non-static memory will reset again. But static memory continues. Static memory continues. Now what will happen when object 2 is created? Object 2 is created for the same class. We created another object called object 2. Now this object will start using this static. Then what it is doing is, second object is continuing the previous object. Is continuing the previous object. In that case, for second object, s will be 1 plus 1. That means it will be 2. But n is equal to again 0 plus 1. That means 1. That means every time n will be 1. But s will be continuing. That means what is difference between static and non-static memory? Static and non-static words are related to, remember, static. First important you should know that it refers to continuous memory. Continuous memory. It refers to continuous memory. Actually, static means continuous memory. You have to tell, if anybody asks what is static, then you should say static is continuous memory. It's continuous memory. Now, what is non-static? Actually, non-static is it refers to discrete memory. Discrete means disconnected memory, not continuous memory. So this is the perfect definition about static and non-static. I will tell you correct real-time scenario now. See, static means continuous memory. Non-static means discrete memory, disconnected memory. So here, very important, see, actually in real-time projects, suppose we have database. Now we have to work with the database. We have an application. Now in this application, we have insert, we have update, we have delete like actions. But remember, before inserting, updating, deleting, first we have to connect. Connect is compulsory. After connecting only you can insert, update or delete. Now what I have done is, I given this connection as static. If I given this connection as static, then what happens is, first when you click insert, it will connect. After connecting, it will insert. After insert is finished, because connection is static, will it continue to second? It is static, na? Static means will it continue to the next? Yes. Then update needs to connect again. Means update needs to create connection again. No need to create connection again. It can use that connection. Understood? Then delete can use that connection. No need to create connection again. This is the advantage of static, but it have drawbacks. Best example is your Gmail. Your Gmail, you logged in. Don't sign out. Just close the browser. You are still logged in. Am I right? Next day when you open Gmail, directly your account opens. That means it is continuous. That is static. What is problem with static? It uses more memory. And it is not safe. It is not safe. Why? Because if anything is in memory, it is not safe. You went away, somebody opened your laptop and Gmail, your account will open. How? It is not safe. Static is not safe, but it is good. If I want continuous operations, then every time I don't need to log in. That means if it is my personal PC, I don't want to log in every day, then better I will go with static. Now, for example, you take, suppose, bank payments, transfer, money transfer. Suppose for a person you are transferring some 100 rupees. Then it will ask password. You enter password, transaction finish. For the same person, you have to send again money. Within just 1 minute only, again some money. For the same person, again it will ask password. Then why it cannot continue? That is not safe. Understood? That is not safe. Then in this case, connection should be non-static. Understood? That means a developer should understand where I should use static, where I should use non-static. That means as a developer, if we want some operations to happen continuously, then better use static. If we want operations disconnected, then use non-static. That means non-static, discrete memory. It is disconnected in access. So it uses less memory. It is less memory. So it is safe. But very important, it is not good for continuous operations. Am I right? If I want continuous operations, then that is not good. Because every time I have to connect. Now imagine you open Gmail. First mail you checked. After checking the first mail, you went to back second mail. Then again if to ask login. If it is dynamic, it will ask. If it is non-static, it will ask. That is not good idea. That means if you want continuous operations, then you have to use static. If you want discrete, then you have to use non-static. Now, static members, right? Static members are defined using static keyword. Another important is, so they are accessed within or outside class using class name. These are very least points which you are telling as definitions, right? Static is not about how they are accessed. Static is about how they work in memory. Now suppose if I give this connection to a non-static connection, understood? If it is non-static, that means if it is dynamic connection, what happens? You click insert, it will connect, insert, after that disconnect. Understood? If you click update, then what should happen is it should create this connection again. For delete, it should create connection again. This is not good for continuous operations. For handling continuous operations, you need this. So that is the difference between static and non-static. So static is continuous and non-static is discrete. So if anybody asks hereafter about what is static and non-static, better say continuous and discrete. Static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete. Let's see the example here. See, I am using class demo. In this, I defined static s is equal to 0 and n is equal to 0. If you don't give static, it is non-static. If you don't give static, it is non-static. And we have a constructor. You know, JavaScript constructors are anonymous. You learned in JavaScript. In this constructor, demo.s, because it is static, we have to access by class name. Demo.s plus 1. And this dot n is equal to this dot n plus 1. That means how to access these non-static members. So they are accessed within class using this keyword. Understood? And outside class using instance of class, means object of class. Outside class, they are accessed by using object of class. Inside, they are accessed by using this. So here, now I am using a print method. Print is a method. It should print both details. One is s is equal to, I will print this demo.s, and n is equal to this dot n. I am printing s and n. Now see here, I am creating obj1 is equal to new demo. I am creating an object for first object for the class. And through obj1, I am printing. Understood? Second, let obj2 is equal to demo. Second object, obj2 print. I am creating let obj3 new demo. 3 objects I created. And let's see how these objects are using memory. 3 objects we are creating. These 3 objects have to use static and non-static. S is static and N is non-static. Now see how these 3 objects are going to use. TSC index.ts, node index.js. You see S is 1, 2, 3, but N is 1. Understood? That means you created 3 objects. You created 3 different objects, but S is continuing. Second object is using the first memory and third is using the second memory. Static is continuing, but non-static is discrete. That means after the first object finished using n, it will reset. Again n will be 0. But static is continuing. This is the example of the proof for what we discussed. That means this is what we discussed. Static means continuous and non-static means discrete. Provide a proof for that. This is the proof. Right? This is the proof that shows that static is continuing and non-static is disconnected. So as a developer, how a developer decides that I have to use static now, I have to use non-static. So when you are designing any module which needs continuous operations, then you better use static members for them. Can a class have both static and non-static members? Yes. Right? So static is not about how they are accessed. They are about how they use the memory. Static, non-static are the terms related to memory. Right? That is what very important you need to know. Right? class can contain static and non-static. Okay, that is fine. Another important is TypeScript class. TypeScript class can define access modifiers. Access modifiers. They can define access modifiers. So 3 access modifiers are supported in TypeScript. We have public, we have private, and we have protected. Only these 3 are there. In TypeScript, we have only 3 access modifiers: the public, the private, and protected. What is public, private, and protected? So let's see. The point is, first, public is nothing but it is accessible. It is accessible from any object. It is accessible from any object. So from any location, from any object, and from any location. It is accessible from any object and any location. So that is public. Now private, it is accessible only within the class. Within the class. Private is accessible only within the class. Nothing else. Right? Protected is important here. It is accessible. It is accessible within the class. Within the class. Okay, it is accessible within the class, it's fine. Another, it is accessible outside the class. Outside the class, only in derived class. Derived class, and only by using derived class object. Nothing else. This is restriction. Let's see this point. Protected is accessible in the class. Okay, fine. In the class, all 3 are accessible: public, private, and protected. Protected is accessible outside the class, but not everywhere. Outside the class, only in derived class. In derived class also, by using derived class object only. By using derived class object only. Derived class object only. That means, you see here, let's see. I am creating, so this example already I given. Yeah. Now see here, in this what I am doing here. So class, I am defining product. In this product class, we have public name. It is what type? String. In that we define some name. Some value I initialize. So we have private price. Price is number and we store some value. Another, we have protected. Protected stock. Stock is boolean and it is having some true or false. Now see, I am creating an object, means I am creating a derived class. That means I said derived. This extends, derived class extends which class? Product, base class. It is extending the base class. Now here I am creating a print method, right? We are defining a print method. So public, detailedly I will tell you about methods and all, right? I am creating a print method. Okay. First we need to understand, right? See, this is print method. Okay. Outside we are creating an object for derived. We are creating an object for this derived class. We are creating an object for derived class. This derived class is extending which one? Product, base class, right? That is the base class and this is the derived class. Now better for your understanding, I will give as base. Here I will give as base. Okay. Now see here, through this object, which member is accessible? Only public is accessible. Protected is not accessible. What is the definition about protected? It is accessible outside the class, only in derived class. Are you accessing in derived class? Outside derived class, na? It's not accessible. Let's see, obj dot, only name is available. Understood? Price is not there, stock is also not there. That means only name is available. That means it is which kind of member? This is public. Now we see, we will try to create here, this is derived class now. In derived class, we will create an obj. This is what type? Base type. Base class type object. Through this obj, what I can access now? Here also I can access only name only. Only name. Why? Because private is not accessible outside. Protected is accessible. See the definition. Is accessible only in derived class and only by using derived class object. Is this derived class object? Huh? It is not derived class object. So it is not accessible. You see, only name is available. Only name is available. So what is the restriction about protected? It is accessible in the derived class using derived class object. That means I will create an object for which class? Derived class. I create an object for derived class. Now see, through obj, I can access name, and I can access stock. Private is never accessible outside. Private is accessible only inside the class. So outside the class, you can access public and you can access protected. But protected is accessible outside the class only in derived class, only by using derived class object, right? You forget about all your technologies. Don't come that in my .NET like this, in my Java like this. In your .NET, Java, whatever is there, we don't care. Leave it there. This is TypeScript. Understood? In TypeScript, what are the rules are there? I am giving those rules, nothing else. Don't come up with any questions like my .NET, my Java. Your .NET, your Java, in your .NET, in your Java only. Understood? Nothing to do here. This is TypeScript and these are only the rules of TypeScript. Right? So, in TypeScript, when you define public, private, protected, these will have these rules. That's it. Right? Nothing else put in your brain about TypeScript. Right? You keep your knowledge of your language in your language only. Right? So this language here, only TypeScript. Again, don't tell these definitions. I mean, remember, concepts are same. Interface purpose is same everywhere. Right? Static, non-static members purpose is same, but the way of using is different. Understood? Arrays are same everywhere. Only the point is in JavaScript we can have different types of values. Understood? The concept of array, concept of these are same everywhere, but the way of using, the limitations, restrictions will change according to the technology. These are related to TypeScript. Understood? In TypeScript, what is public member? Accessible from public, it is accessible from any location. Right? Private, so only within the class. Protected, within the class, it is accessible outside the class. But outside the class, only in derived class, only by using derived class object. These are the restrictions, right? So when you define, these are the restrictions for the objects. That is technically the class options, right? Now, we haven't learned detailedly about the class. We learned only the members type. We have to learn what is property, accessor, we will see that, right? So, in JavaScript, we don't have access modifiers. In TypeScript, we have access modifiers. In JavaScript, you cannot define static and non-static separately because in JavaScript, it will not support. Understood? In JavaScript, it will not support. Suppose you are writing some JavaScript. So, in JavaScript, you are defining a class. So in this class, you write static s is equal to 0. This is not allowed here. Even you write, it will not work. Understood? So that means let some obj is equal to new demo. And here through obj, you can see you cannot access this. So directly demo dot, yes, it is accessible here. But remember this, when you run, it will immediately show that this static is not recognized. It will not work because static is available only in which location? It is available only in TypeScript. These are not available in JavaScript. Even access modifier also. That means suppose you given like public, right? Public some print, some name is what type, string type. These are directly you given some name. These are not allowed. These are not allowed because these are allowed only in a TypeScript. Right? So in JavaScript and TypeScript, some variations, that is about how we can use the members. Understood? How do we define the members? So technically class can contain what? It can contain properties, methods, accessors and constructor. And in TypeScript class, you can have static members and you can have access modifiers. What you need to know detailedly here is actually class can be defined. Class can be defined in two ways. One is class declaration. Class declaration. Second one is class expression. We have two ways. Class declaration and class expression. So that means you see here, I will copy this to make you understand this part. Okay. So class is defined in two ways. You see, suppose I am creating class is product and here it is having some members. There is another way where category is equal to class. This is also class. This is called class expression. This is called class definition. Declaration. What is difference between them? Here I have name. It is what type? String. So it is string type and we are initializing some value. And here also you can have category name and it is string type. It can also have some values. Now we have let obj is equal to new what type? Category. Obj dot category name is available. Now what is difference between the expression and declaration? So this is category object. So this is declaration, class declaration, and this is class expression. This is expression. What is difference? Actually, you have this difference in JavaScript also, means in JavaScript function also. For example, if you learned about JavaScript functions, I can write like this, where hello is a function. Understood? Or we can write function welcome is a function. What is difference between these two? What is difference between these two? What is difference between these two? Both are function only. Hello is function, welcome is function. Actually, hello is not function. Hello is not a function. Hello is a function pointer. It is a function memory. Function, actually it is anonymous function. Understood? This is anonymous function. Means function without name. Hello is not function name. Hello is the memory name where that function is loaded. So welcome is function name. Welcome is function name. What is difference between these two? Difference is actually this is nothing but this will be loaded. Means second one will be loaded only when you need it. only when it is required. Actually, these expressions are used for promise. Promise means these will execute according to situation and requirements. That means we don't need to call them. They will execute according to the situation. Expressions are used in callback mechanism. Actually, callback mechanism means they will execute only when they need it. Depending on situation. You don't need to tell when to execute. They will decide. But this we have to execute. We have to call welcome. Then welcome will execute. But hello also same. But the point is this can execute. This can execute according to situation. These are called anonymous functions. Means function without name. For example, I will tell you here. See, suppose where we have verify user. Verify user is an array. In this we have some password. It is a string. String is password. I will give you in better way. This is password. After that, we can have a function. We can define a function like this. After that, we can have another function like this. These are functions without name. Then how to access the first function? We can use verify user of one. Am I right? In that there is a function. That's how we access. This is function pointer. Understood? Function pointers. I hope you know that function pointers are more faster in accessing a function. You learn pointers, huh? No? Later you will come across with them. You will understand about that. So class is also two ways. We have a class declaration and we have a class expression. What is the advantage is declaration is nothing but it will load the class when you requested it. But expression will load the class according to situation. That means it will load according to situation. It is kept in the memory and it will decide whether to load or not according to the state and situation. So if you want the classes directly to load without any decisions, then use class declaration. If you want to load the classes using a decision, then keep them in the memory and access using decisions. For that, we have to use class as what? Expression. This is not new concept. Generally in JavaScript also, these two options are there. We can have a class declaration and we can have a class expression. Now, inside the class, what are the members? That means we have to discuss about class members. In class members, we will first see property and we will see accessor. What is property? What is accessor? That we will see in next session. Tomorrow, we will discuss about that. Okay. In tomorrow's session, we will discuss all the class members, properties, accessors, methods, and constructor. Then we can go into inheritance, polymorphism, abstractions, and all this. Right? Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay? Right.